Episode 36, Winded City Countdown. Scott Snurl with Matt Urich and Ben Russo. Uh, really, really a good topic to discuss tonight. No, I don't mean Game of Thrones. That's a great topic. But we got a good one to discuss because I have a feeling Ben is going to unload tonight. Ben is like a teenage kid who finally has his bedroom to himself. He is going to just unload tonight. That was a dirty joke.
Yeah, it was.
Go me. How are you boys tonight?
I'm
Doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing
Matt,
well.
you're not so good.
Doing okay.
Yeah, okay. Uh, Ben, I get the feeling that the Chicago Bulls, the way you're going to unload tonight, will leave you more satisfied than a teenage boy because you are not happy. You are rather angry at this Chicago Bulls team, and I don't think I can blame you. So we're gonna go right into it. The
This is the
Bulls.
Ben Russo Bulls
Yeah,
show.
I'm gonna just let you go unfiltered, nonstop. I'm gonna start the clock in 3 minutes. Maybe Matt or I will jump in, but we're gonna give you unrestricted access for 3 full minutes here. Go for it.
Well, I will say that my anger with the Bulls, despite the fact that they just stink, is also like upgraded from a 10 to an 11 because the Cubs struggles are just adding to my anger. But yeah, I mean, what could have been like a turning point for the franchise to just be like, okay, I see what they're trying to do here. Just they finally moved Derrick Rose and they blow the whole thing. I don't think his value was much higher than what they got. I think we discussed that and kind of agreed that they probably got market value for Rose. They weren't getting, a first round pick unless it was, your chance would have been, a low end, a team really high in the draft, maybe a playoff team decided to take on that contract for the year. But this was probably the market value. The biggest issue I had was they added money onto their salary for the next few years. And I understand the salary cap's going up, but what this trade did was rather than you going into next offseason with the capability to max out not one but two players, God forbid you actually get anybody to sign here to begin with, now you're left with one and then probably overpaying for some scrub or something like that. So that was the biggest mistake. And this isn't saying that you don't trade Derrick Rose. If you were going to do it, you don't take on that salary. And if they were demanding you take on the salary, then you just simply don't make the trade. I mean, they weren't gaining anything other than getting rid of Derrick Rose in this trade. It's not like Jerrion Grant is some up and coming NBA
They
All-Star.
targeted him last year in the draft, Ben.
Oh, great. I mean, they targeted Marcus Teague too, and look how well that turned out. So, I mean, I'm just saying the trade, I understand why they made it. I just think it was pointless. You live with what you have for another year. You take the salary cap space. Now moving on to what was the biggest bust of a draft night I've ever seen. I'm not saying Denzel Valentine is a bad player, but when you come out before the draft, after the Derrick Rose trade, and say we're looking for athletic, defensive-minded guys, and this is who you draft, the guy who's, I don't know if I have the number exactly correct, but I'm pretty sure his three-quarter court time was as fast as that 7'1" Chinese center that the Houston Rockets took in the second round. I mean, that's embarrassing. If that's who your athletic, shooter is going to be that you bring in. He could be a fine player. I don't think he's anybody. And again, you're picking at 14. You're not getting, a world beater, but maybe you go with one of those younger guys with a little more potential. I think the guy I really liked, I think it's Malik Beasley from Florida State, an athletic shooting guard. Again, I'm not sure that he fits if you're really going to ride with Jimmy Butler. But segue to Jimmy Butler, Gar Forman had the chance to move Jimmy Butler, it seemed. And this isn't just, some blogger reporting it. This was Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that it was on the table for the Bulls to move Jimmy Butler. I think the original report was the 5th pick and Levine. It turns out it was the 5th pick and Ricky Rubio. which, again, I think we all kind of agreed. I understood why you may not take it, but I probably still would have done it, but that's just me.
I'm going to
Gives
interrupt
you
you
that.
real quick, Ben.
Yeah.
Chris Bryant just hit his third home run of the game.
Wow. 5 for 5.
Upper
Good for my
decker.
fantasy. Good for my fantasy team.
My God.
God, that kid is good.
We'll talk about Chris Bryant because he is unbelievable. I didn't mean to interrupt you because he crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. So continue, Ben.
But the chance to get Chris Dunn, who was the guy they targeted all along. I mean, if we heard this all along, like they wanted Chris Dunn, and you had your chance to do it, and you didn't take it. And again, not only are you getting your guy in Chris Dunn, you'd be getting a capable backup or a guy to at least start until Dunn's ready with Rubio, and again, freeing up salary cap, making that run for those two max players, maybe, who knows. But then to come out and lie about it and say, oh, we never discussed Jimmy Butler with anybody, you're a lying sack of shit, Gar Forman, everybody knows it. He's a goddamn cockroach fighting to survive still. And then you get the press.
Rizzo!
Another homer?
Yeah.
Back to back.
But then
that feels good.
And then you get the press conference today, which was just Fred Hoiberg saying how he's really excited to coach Brooke Lopez, even though they traded for Robin Lopez. And I'm sure it was just a tongue slip, but, I mean, there's no doubt that it's definitely possible that Gar Forman thinks he traded for Brooke Lopez, right? I mean, there's no doubt that, like, Fred's like, yeah, I'm really excited to coach Brooke Lopez, and, like, the reporter's like, you guys got Robin, and he just kind of, like, looks at Gar, and Gar's got his stupid, big, buggy-eyed, goldfish-looking fucking face, and he's just like, I don't know what happened. Like, there's no doubt in my mind Gar Forman probably thinks he traded for Brooke Lopez. But
he might think he traded for Mario Lopez at this point, for all we know, right? He's
who
sitting there
might
going,
be
I liked
better
his
than-
numbers at Bayside High.
He did. He put up some really solid numbers.
It's just, it just goes back to the fact, and then today I think he said they're still formulating a plan. It's like, dude, free agency starts in like 3 days. What do you mean you're still formulating a plan? And then they talk
what
about
a terrible
free agency.
plan.
Yeah, let's Etuan Moore. That's your plan in free agency. Like, what? There is no plan. There's no way, shape, or form that they have any sort of plan moving forward. They're winging
They
it.
have a plan. It's just their plan is to overvalue Jimmy Butler and think he's a superstar. And Jimmy Butler's an all-star player. I am not.
He's a really good player.
He's a top 25 player in the league.
I'd even go as far as say top 20 easily.
Yeah, sure, and that's
But
great.
I've said this all along: is he's not a guy you're winning a championship for, and if you're not aiming to win a championship, then what are you doing? Like, you should constantly be making moves to get to a championship, and they're not. They're going to be happy with what he said today. Oh, we have the most wins the last 10 years in the NBA. Yes, and you have one Eastern Conference Finals appearance.
Oh, and it was.
So
I thought it was. I thought it was funny too. Denzel Valentine. Sorry to cut you off. He was talking on the morning show with Spiegel, and I think it was John Greenberg sitting in today, and he echoed the same thing about, because they asked him, what's it like being a Bull now, and all that. He's like, it's great. I know they didn't make the playoffs last year, but they've had the best record in the NBA over the course of how many ever years. And I was like, you got to be kidding me that he already has that like in his head. Like, if that's what they're leaning on, how the hell are you going to bring in free agents? Because you did all that with a former MVP.
Kevin Durant. We haven't won shit, but we've been to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, for like
and the coach
nine
and the
of the last 10 years.
Yeah, and the coach that got us there isn't here anymore. Well, one of them.
So I'm gonna take this in a couple directions here. First, did either of you have a twinge of sadness seeing Rose get traded? Like, as much as there's a big part of me that it was just fed up with his bullshit, and Reggie Rose and B.J. Armstrong, and I can't play because God doesn't say I'm ready or whatever his excuses were from time to time. There was still a part of me that's going, that guy. What is it now? 6 years since he won the MVP? Was that the summer of 2010?
Yeah.
I mean, so you look at that, right? I mean, I know it's been 6 years since peak Derrick Rose, but man, like, if you would have told me, however many years ago, that the Bulls wouldn't even make a finals with Derrick Rose, I'd have been like, no way, because at some point they're going to get a second piece in here that can complement Derrick Rose, and they should be able to, I mean, that Heat team, for as good as they were for the 4 years, and now this Cavs team for two, so that's the run for Derrick Rose, was those 6 years. Um, for those 6 years, he could have taken one of those teams to the finals if he was healthy, the way he was playing. So there's just that always going to be with Derrick Rose for me, that sadness of that guy. I mean, it looked like he's going to really be special, and it turned into almost fool's gold. It was like, oh, look, we found gold. No, actually,
Well, and
we did not.
Yeah, I mean, we knew how good he could be or how good he was. I mean, man, at his best, he was so unbelievable. I mean, he really was. His ability to just drive the lane and the explosiveness, and I mean, he was the best in the game. I mean, well, for 1 year. I mean, it's still hard to contend that LeBron wasn't better, but still. But yeah, it was only a little bit of sadness just because of seeing that potential walk away. Not that I think he's going to go to New York and all of a sudden be Derrick Rose circa 2012, but
no,
it's like what you said, Scott. It's just sort of, you knew what he could have been or what he was, and seeing that walk away or get traded away, it sucks. But
yeah. So that's the first one. The second one goes to what Ben talked about, which is you didn't get anything for him. You didn't get anything that gets you closer to a championship. And for all of Derrick Rose's faults over the last 5 years, and I agree, Matt, I don't think he's ever going to be Derrick Rose again. But there's always that 1% chance that maybe he does.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could catch lightning in a bottle for 1 year with Derrick Rose, maybe you ride that to an Eastern Conference final again. Maybe you ride that to God forbid an NBA final in that terrible East. I mean, listen, the Cavs are one LeBron injury away from not being shit.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you don't hinge what you do as a franchise on, well, in order for us to win, LeBron has to get hurt. But you also don't go, oh, what gets us closer is Robin Lopez, Jurian Grant, or whatever, and whatever.
Jose Calderon.
Jose Calderon. And those guys have 0% chance of being what Derrick Rose could be. Derrick Rose, I would still even argue, only has like a 1% chance of being old Derrick Rose. But in the NBA, I'll take the 1% chance that I'm going to get old Derrick Rose versus trading for the bag of garbage that we got. And I know the bag of garbage is what it is, and that's the best you could do, but there's still a part of me after the fact that's looking at this going, I don't know that trade is really ultimately worth it, because the garbage you got, especially because of the financial implications you talked about, Ben, you can't even sell it to me as this is a positive financial move that could get us a guaranteed 2 max players and then a third nice piece as the cap increases, right? Because that was that if the Butler trade happens, for me, love both moves.
Mm-hmm.
Then you are in full. We're gonna
then you have a plan.
Right, we're going to try to get a top 5 pick. We're going to.
Well, you would have already gotten one top 5 pick. Then you're going to add probably a second one the following year.
Yeah, and who knows what happens from there. But instead, now we're just short of 2 max players, which is the same bullshit that happened when LeBron was a free agent.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's a half-ass plan. It's either you go all in or you don't. And
that's the Jerry Reinsdorf way, though.
And they did one foot. Yeah, you look at it with the White Sox. It's the same bullshit. They want to build up their farm system, then they trade guys, and then they sign, guys past their prime because they want to contend, and then they don't do anything with it. It's because for some reason they feel like they owe it to Jerry, even though, Jerry's getting up there in age. So like the goal is to win another one for Jerry. It's like, come on, man. Like, why are you going to mortgage your future by trying to stay relevant now, and that relevancy has done nothing for you. You've been in the Bulls case, you've been a one and done how many times, or at best you're winning a series in the playoffs.
Agreed. So Ben, go ahead, please.
What I was going to add, like, I know you guys have this fear of, well, Scott, you said there's that small chance that he could go to New York and
I don't
maybe
fear him going to New York and doing it. If he goes to New York and does it, I could give two shits.
I guess just saying, even here, whatever the case may be. So I'm on Basketball Reference. I'm going to read you the win shares, similar win shares through the first 7 years and then career-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So Derrick Rose is at I think it's an 80.5.
Okay.
Win shares for his career. So other people who are close, somebody named Michael Reardon,
Ooh.
Brent Barry.
Oh yeah,
Goran Dragic,
Goran Dragic,
Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is through the first 7 years. Brandon Roy, who only played 6 years. Kyrie Irving, who has only played 5 years. Kemba Walker, who has only played 5 years. Dana Barros, Michael Williams, Gail Goodrich, and Jimmy Butler, who's only played five years.
Brent Barry won a slam dunk competition, so.
But here's the kicker.
Is that his career?
So Derrick Rose's peak season was a 13.1 win shares. Okay. So Brandon Roy had a 13.5. Dana Barros had a 12.7. Brent Barry had a 12.1. So, yeah, I mean, the rest of Derrick Rose's career, he had a 6, a 4.9, a 1.2, a 0.4, a negative 0.2. Yes, injuries definitely helped those in a lot of cases, but let's stop pretending that he's not coming back. You're not getting Derrick Rose of old. There's zero chance of that happening. I mean, maybe he has a couple more productive seasons where he's in that 6-7 range, okay, but he's not ever going to be Derrick Rose MVP ever again. So, and these peaks happen. I mean, Brent Barry was right there at almost a 13.1, which would have tied Derrick Rose's MVP season. So I'm not saying that they have the same career path, but this just shows he's half the player he was when he was an MVP at this point, at best.
So again, though, I think why I say what I do is the Derrick Rose trade gets you farther away from a championship. So why trade him? I mean, it's just, why would you trade him? It doesn't make sense without trading Jimmy Butler.
No, I mean, I think it makes sense to a point because, again, this clearly shows that they think they're going to win something. They aren't, but this clearly shows that they are, and they're basically saying, yeah, Derrick Rose was the reason we didn't make the playoffs last year. So take that for what it is. I mean, they're clearly not going to be, anybody who thinks they're anything more than a top 6, 7, 8 seed. I mean, that's what they're going to cap at. So I understand what you're saying as far as if they're not trading trading Roses for no reason. No, it's because they think they're still going to be a competitive team.
Exactly.
With whatever crap roster they put out there.
And that's the problem, is they think that this is going to allow them to be successful.
I mean, what's their starting lineup right now? What do you have? Jose Calderon. You have Jimmy Butler. You have
Doug
McDermott.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and
Doug.
You have
big buckets to start for sure.
And Robin Lopez.
Yeah.
Or is Dunleavy still a thing?
I mean, I'd imagine. Okay, so replace Dunleavy with McDermott.
Yeah. That's garbage.
What do you win in?
38
38 games, and you'll fight for the 8 seed? Is that your cap?
If that.
And they're obviously going to add pieces, but who are they realistically adding that's going to find them?
Are they going to add pieces? What pieces?
They're going to add something. They have $25 million. They're going to add something, whether it's good or not. I mean, what if?
E-Rob 2.0.
I feel like they're going to throw
Barnes.
Yep, I was going to say I think they're going to throw a bunch of money at Harrison Barnes, and that's going to blow up. That's going to be bad. Or, I mean, I don't think they'd give a lot of money.
But even at that, Harrison Barnes is probably going to get a max from another team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have to look at, is there's going to be so much stupid money spent this offseason.
Well, there's already that rumor about Washington wanting to give Joakim a max deal.
Right. you just look at it and you go, let's say Harrison Barnes is offered a max deal from 5 teams. Are the Bulls really going to be the best option for him?
No.
I would say no.
They're gonna get some scrub player. I haven't really looked at free agency just
It's
because
bad.
I'm sure it's terrible. Now I'm gonna look
I
it
just
up.
as soon them try and sign a couple guys to like 1-year deals and then take your salary cap next off season and go to whoever's out there. I think Russ is a free agent and say, we'll take you and you pick a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you play with
Yeah.
Butler.
And let's go.
I will say that as far as that salary cap goes, if you're the Golden State Warriors, you are maybe the most fortunate team in the history of basketball.
I still don't
they've
see
got
Durant
enough
going
money.
there, but
I was gonna say
No,
they've got
but
enough.
I'm not even talking about Durant though. I mean, your core of
they
Clay.
can go get like Hassan Whiteside or something like that.
Yeah, to protect the rim, do what Andrew Bogut did sometimes when healthy. He's the replacement there. The Warriors are in decent shape for a team that has two guys that are.
I mean, they can keep everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and that Curry deal is really good right now, which is hilarious. Like Curry by the end of next season or 2 seasons from now will be something like the 5th highest paid player on the Warriors. And that's absolutely hilarious to me. All right, so enough NBA. The Bulls are a sad sack of garbage.
Oh, and you guys are right. Holy cow! I'm looking at this free agent list. It is bad. Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, Harrison Barnes is legitimately a top 3 free agent.
Yeah. There's like
Somebody's gonna give him superstar money.
I mean, there's a bunch of restricted guys, but they're all going to get matched, like Andre Drummond or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go over to baseball quickly here. Let's do White Sox first, just because. I mean, there's not a ton to say there, unfortunately. I mean, they
had a good week, back to 500.
and they're trying to get back. There's a really interesting article, I want to say it was on Fangraphs, about them letting Tyler Flowers go because they wanted more offense behind the plate, and they haven't gotten more offense, and the zone effects for their team, like they have 5 of the 8 worst pitchers in terms of pitch framing and stuff, and not getting calls.
Well, yeah, their catchers suck.
Right, and it was all because Hahn decided he wanted offense behind the plate, and so they did that instead. And what's really interesting to me is I see that today, and I want to say it was back in 07 that I read an article where they quoted a bunch of major league managers where they're like, I would gladly take a catcher that can hit 185 if I'm getting.
Well, good. Somebody take Montero then.
I know, but if I'm getting the best defensive guy behind the plate, and I'm sure there was some what's the word I'm looking for here?
Backstage politics.
No, there was. He was being facetious, they could hit that low, but the premium as a catcher is in your catching ability.
Well, yeah, I mean,
your ability, and you didn't. It's not as though they got rid of Tyler Flowers and upgraded an incredible amount behind the plate offensively, but the defensive regression is terrible, and it just, again, I mean, we just talked about the Bulls, and the White Sox suffer from the same damn problem, which is they don't have a damn direction. I don't know what that team is.
Yeah,
I don't know
what they're doing.
I mean, at least they've come out and said they had a 3-year plan. I mean, nobody knows what it is, but at least they came out.
But they at least made a lie about whatever they were doing. But I mean, it just goes to show you these 2 Reinsdorf teams. It's stupid loyalty to people who, it's loyalty to the front office. Kenny shouldn't be there on the White Sox. Gar and Pax both shouldn't be there anymore. From the Bulls side of it, but Reinsdorf is loyal to a fault, and
it's not even Gar. I don't even look at Gar as the problem with the Bulls.
Well, Gar, yeah, no, I feel like
I think Gar's a giant problem with the Bulls.
Well, he is, but the real problem with the Bulls starts with Paxson. The real problems with the White Sox start with Kenny Williams,
yeah.
right? Those are those guys' hires. You know what I'm saying? Like they were the GMs, they got bumped out of the GM role, and that's the steaming pile that they allowed to manage the rosters of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that I've read was that the players at least respect Paxson. The players don't have any respect for Gar at all.
Right, but
Which I guess yeah,
Paxton's got to get rid of him then.
Yeah, Paxton's got to get rid of him. Yeah, I can see that.
Right, and here's the thing. Like, I can understand if Gar for like not being pissy with Paxton if you looked at like Gar Forman, you're like, all right, look, Gar Forman made some moves. Those moves didn't work out, and so because he's not evaluating the talent as we want, he's got to go. Same with Han fits that mold a little bit more than Gar. Gar, on top of not evaluating talent, seems to be a real creepy fuck. And that's maybe being generous.
I'm not kidding. Does he not look like a goldfish?
I apologize to the other creepy fucks out there because that's insulting to them.
Well, and then like remember that weird laugh he had when after Thibs got fired, and then I think it was when they hired Hoiberg, and somebody like asked a question and had like a reference to about Thibs not being there, and then you just heard in the background you heard Gar like like it was like, whoa, dude, what the hell? Like, what's your problem? Like he's such a weirdo. I don't even.
We need to take that laugh and put it on the GIF of Thibodeau from like the one ABC Sunday game where he's like laughing like a maniac. That's my favorite GIF of all time. It's my second favorite Thibs photo of all time as well. Number one, of course, being the 1989 mullet in the basketball jumpsuit. All time great. So the Sox, I mean, I hope they turn around. I don't know how they do it with the talent they have, and they have nothing to trade. So for me, they're just status quo, and the Indians and Royals are playing better baseball, and that just seems to be it. The North side has some issues, I think. I think some of those issues are starting to show up. The one thing I'm trying to keep in mind is a team is not as good as they are during their best winning streaks, but they're not as bad as they are during their worst losing streaks, right? So that's not really something, I don't look at this and go, okay, we need time to be really nervous, but at the same time, that bullpen has been screaming for some help for a little bit longer than the losing streak. So, and Jake Arrieta, he had that no-hitter in Cincinnati, and they let him keep going, and his pitch count got a little high, and I remember watching that, and I did think to myself, I'm like, I don't know that I'd really mind him getting a hit, a hit there in the eighth, after because I didn't watch it live, but I looked at like the pitch recap and the count afterwards.
But even that no-hitter was he just hasn't been nearly as sharp. I mean, you've seen games, but I mean, even that no-hitter, his pitch count was so high. He just keeps walking people like you wouldn't believe.
And that's bad too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me for tonight, but I mean, just here's his last 7 games, and we're gonna act like this is. I mean, these are still pretty good numbers. So his last 7 games, he's 3-2. I don't know if this counts tonight, by the way, so don't hold me to this, but whether this counts tonight or not, 3-2, 3.38 ERA, 40 innings pitched, 18 hits, 20 walks. Sorry, 28 hits, 20 walks, 48 strikeouts, a 1.20 WHIP. Now, for like most pitchers, that's okay. For Jake Arrieta, that's not. I mean, there's clearly an issue. I mean, this is. I've said this before. I mean, if you're not concerned that Jake Arrieta consistently has been going 5, maybe 6 innings, like I don't know what else to tell you. Like, stop saying like, oh, he'll figure it out, because what if he doesn't? Is this? I mean, I have zero confidence. If Jake Arrieta is going to the playoffs and is even giving us 6 innings, I don't have any confidence that we win that game. I don't want 3-4 innings from my bullpen.
Especially this bullpen.
And nobody wants that. I mean, and the Cubs, they'll be the first ones to tell you that, because the Cubs' MO is work the pitch counts on the starters
Right.
and then get into the bullpens because that's where the bad players are on a pitching
Right.
staff. So, Matt, you had something to say. I interrupted there. I apologize.
No, you're okay. I was just saying that, like, with Ben's point too. I mean, it's just this bullpen has been. I mean, the Arrieta thing. I guess you just sort of assume, or hope, I guess, that it rights itself and he figures it out and blah blah blah. And I think as far as starting pitching goes, they're pretty good in that regard right now. But man, that bullpen is just is there a guy you trust? I mean, the only guy I trust right now is Rondon.
Rondon. That's all
Yeah,
you can
and
say.
I mean,
Travis Wood.
And
I'd trust Travis Wood at this point. He's inherited a lot of runners and hasn't let them get across.
all right, I'll put.
I mean, he's fine. I'm not saying
not saying he's a world beater, yeah. And then I mean the fact that today they signed 40-year-old Joel Peralta. I'm not
Well, they
sure how.
signed him a while ago. I don't know what he did in the minors.
Oh, okay. Or I didn't mean
He
sign.
signed shortly after Nathan.
Yeah, I mean they brought him up today or whatever with his 5.4 ERA this year. But I mean I guess at this point you just sort of have to see what you have. But I mean like Justin Grimm, he's been terrible. Trevor Cahill's been pretty bad. I mean, they brought up Concepcion, and he was pretty terrible this last series against Miami. So, I mean, it's like a revolving door right now, and Joe has nobody they can trust. And if you think about it, remember back like the beginning of the year how good the bullpen was?
Yep.
I mean, they were playing so well. And I mean, bullpens are fickle like that, and things happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they.
But even if they were bad, you had your starting pitchers who were covering them. I mean,
oh yeah, everybody was going
regression
6
from these
innings,
guys,
or whatever.
but yeah, I mean, we knew there'd be a regression with the starting pitching. I mean, they weren't all going to have sub-3 ERAs for the entire year, but it's the innings pitched and the early pitch counts that are getting. I mean, Arrieta's been consistently through 3 innings, in the 60s for the last few starts, and it's like at that point you're just banking on him getting you 6 innings, and you can't have that. I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, even when Chris Sale's struggling, he's going to get you seven innings at least. I mean, that's what we need, and if you're not going to get that from your number one, I don't know how you win in the playoffs without it. I mean, yeah, hopefully your offense comes around and keeps mashing the ball and gets healthy, but I'm not concerned about the offense. I am concerned with Jake Arrieta. I mean, people can, you have the Cubs blogging world who just continually goes, "Oh, don't worry." I mean, at what point do you worry? I mean, they've been very average the last 40 games. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it.
Yep. I can't disagree with you there, but we'll have to see what Theo comes up with here. It will appear though at the moment that he is spot on with not wanting to pay Arrieta.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bad time for Arrieta to.
I think it's still like the prove it to me thing. Prove to me you could be dominant for 2 years in a row at, what is he? What's Arrieta? 30, 31? Or is
he'll be 31 or 32 I think he'll be 32 at the very early in that first year of that new contract. So next year he'll be 31, and then he'll sign the deal at 31, but he'll be 32 during the season.
Gotcha.
And one last Cubs update: if Zobrist and Hayward can get on, Bryant will have a shot at a 4th homer tonight. So
no way they pitch to him.
No,
if the bases are loaded,
Reds.
you might have to.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting. But one quick stat that was tweeted out: he is the youngest Cub ever. I think it said ever. Youngest Cub to ever hit 3 in the same game. 10 days younger than anybody. Got a guess on who held that record?
Ernie.
Yeah, it was Ernie Banks in 55. 10 days younger than Ernie Banks. So not a bad comp if you're Chris Bryant. So all right, I'm gonna give 10 seconds here to anybody who has not watched Game of Thrones and listens to our podcast, which just seems like not like that people that listen to our podcast don't watch Game of Thrones, but if our podcast, if you're downloading it, you're probably reading the descriptions. I put in the description Game of Thrones recap. So, but here it is. You got 5 seconds, and we're going to talk about Game of Thrones. So, 3, 2, 1. that was fucked up last night.
It was awesome.
Cersei Lannister is far and away the baddest bitch in television history.
Yeah, dude, that was awesome.
All right,
yeah.
so honestly, were you rooting for Lancel to blow out the candles? Or were you rooting for the candle to burn out and blow up the whole damn thing?
Oh, I wanted it to blow up.
Ben, what did you were you
I wanted it to blow up, but I thought the Tyrells were going to get out of there.
Yeah, I didn't want the Tyrells to
For a little bit, I was like, "Oh, they're going to get out." I mean, look at her; she's throwing the panic. Like I thought this was her plan, and then all of a sudden it was like, "Well, now she's not going to get out, and that candle's about to go off." And shit.
Katie was not happy. Katie's my wife, for those listening, and she was not happy that Marjorie died. She thought that was like, for everything that Marjorie seemed to represent, it seemed odd that she died, but
and that she seemed like she had a plan too.
Yeah.
You know, and then for her to just be gone, I mean, I guess
apparently she did. She must have had a plan, and then
that's Game of Thrones for you. So.
Yeah. I thought the filming by the director last night, there were so many great things about that first 10 to 12 minutes. My three favorite things that I walk out of there with is, number one, I love the use of the piano and the cello for the music.
And that was so different for them too.
It was. I mean, and just the way they set that entire scene up with that music, you're like, ooh, this is.
I mean, you knew, it was ominous. You knew something was coming, and it just continued to build and build. I had a discussion with somebody on Twitter about that last night, about how, you know, we both loved the score and like how different. Like it felt so different, like in a good way though. Like I'm not saying it like deterred me from anything, but like the episode felt so different from the beginning, which I thought was really, really neat.
So there was that piece that I absolutely loved. My second favorite thing in that first 10 to 12 minutes was the filming of Tommen's death. How he's standing there at the window, looking at the rubble, takes the crown off, goes off screen, but the camera doesn't follow him. And then he just comes back and walks out the window, and you're like that was really, really well done. And then the third one was, I really, really enjoyed as the building is exploding, Cersei Lannister doesn't even flinch, and she smiles and she sips her damn wine, and you are like, that's a power move.
Yeah,
that's a power move. So
pretty awesome. Like how powerful the women are in this series. Like,
and there's one cool. And there's one lurking.
Yes,
Sansa Stark is lurking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like John becoming king in the North. John becoming king in the North does not feel good for him right now, because Sansa and Littlefinger it was shit out of each other.
Yeah. I was gonna say she was happy for John, and then she looked over at Littlefinger, and he gave her that look, and then she, you know, you saw it on her face. Like, that's good acting too on her part, man. She's had a couple really strong episodes at the end of this.
That it just feels like she can't
bitch at all.
No, can't. Ben, let's go to you, because obviously the first 10 minutes is going to be a favorite of the three of us. I mean, it just, everything that was on the line in those 10 minutes, and the way Cersei executes the plan is amazing. Outside of the first 10 minutes, your favorite part of the episode last night?
I'm gonna have to say it, even though I don't want to, but
Arya.
I hated that Arya Stark storyline ever since she started doing that many-faced god bullshit that just dragged on forever.
A girl has no name.
Shut up. And then for it to finally, you know, come to a head with her, you know, feeding Walter Frey his children in a meat pie and then ripping off.
That was so good, man.
They're
totally
here.
Unexpected.
Where are my moron sons? Yeah. They're right here. Where?
And then she rips off the face and slits his throat. I mean, if there were two guys that deserved to die more than anybody, and they both died the last 2 weeks. It was Ramsay Bolton and then
Walter Frey.
Walter Frey. So I was happy with that, but that's also my concern. I texted you guys that last night. I said way too much good has happened in the last 2 weeks. This does not seem well. I mean, everything is so clear with Daenerys Targaryen is on her way to take over the throne. Jon Snow is king of the North. Like,
Hey, speaking of which, were you bothered by Varys being
Yes.
all over the
no,
place?
no.
last night?
I can explain this.
He has a jetpack.
No, if you guys clearly didn't pay attention, but it was clearly fast forward like 3 weeks, because if you look at the boats that are sailing, there are 3 different houses there. You have Daenerys' crew with the Ironborn or whatever, and then you also had the Tyrell flag. So the Tyrells and the Sands obviously agreed to join them. So all 3 of those ships were sailing at the same time. So
Great catch
it
by
was
you.
clearly quite some time down the road.
But I did find it funny that, we see Varys like so quickly after that scene. Yet it or whatever.
It's Varys, and Ben, it's not Walter, it's Walder.
I said Walder.
No, you definitely sounded like you said Walter. And my phone just thought I said "Hey Siri," so I got that going for me.
Just so you know, I took a quiz and I got 41 out of 51 names correct on Game of Thrones. So
nice job. All right, Matt, go for it, Matt.
No, I was just gonna say if it took Varys, am I saying that correctly?
Thank you.
3 weeks or whatever to get back. Yeah, the penisless man. That long to get back. Then
there's multiple of those.
Yeah, but it basically
there's
spent
not a lot of dick on those boats going from Marine to Westeros.
But we spent the whole season watching Sam go from the north all the way
to the north.
To
stay in the north.
You spend the whole season watching Sam pretty much just show up at a library and get a boner at the library. So
did you guys think he was going to die?
Sam is taking over Arya Stark for the worst storyline in Game of Thrones. No idea what they're doing with him.
I was hoping it would be better. I mean, he has that Valyrian steel sword, so I thought something cool would come of it. And then
I was worried he was going to die there. I really was. All right, so we've got a lot of storylines got wrapped up. Jon is the king in the north. You've got Daenerys. She's coming over from Marine. Another power move to end it with Cersei Lannister saying...
I think we kind of forgot the biggest storyline.
The biggest storyline.
Jon Snow's bloodline and...
Oh yeah, that's some good shit there. So
now that they finally revealed it.
So let's talk about that, because on the show, Ned Stark only talked about Jon's mother, and I'm doing air quotes there, one time. And I don't know if you guys caught it, but I immediately thought as I watched that scene, I went, yeah, that nurse is going to be Jon Snow's mother. And there's going to be something with that. And there's a whole backstory with her in the books on whether or not she's alive, and she's been with a group, the Men Without Banners group, and the whole thing. But anyways, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so it turns out that what's the equation that was online? It was
it R
plus
L equals J. Yeah, so I will say I'm really happy with Game of Thrones and George R.R. Martin letting that fan theory come to fruition. Had they just kind of let it be that, oh yeah, Ned cheated on his wife, he really is just a bastard, that would have sucked.
Doesn't it just kill you that Ned Stark's dead now?
Yeah,
probably the most honest character on the damn show, next to Jon Snow.
Yeah, I mean it's not good that it sucks that he's dead, but
all my favorite people are dead. Ned's gone, Rob's gone, the Viper's gone. I love that dude.
Basically the Stark family. I'm really pulling for them, and it just feels like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it feels like the Starks, right? I texted you guys earlier. It's they're on that upswing right now. They look pretty good. Everything's coming up
about
Stark.
to go downhill.
Yeah, and then it's just it's gonna be
that little shit Bran's gonna come and
Yeah,
let Sansa know that what's her name. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't Arya and Sansa end on bad terms too?
yeah, because so Arya was all pissy that Sansa was a bitch to her with like the dire wolf.
So maybe
and,
Arya will save Jon Snow.
All right, so I have a this is sorry to interrupt, but this is from my buddy Doozer. He sent me this theory, and he said he says I think the final episode of the series, Cersei ends up on this. I'm reading his text. It says Cersei ends up on top with all of her foes vanquished, and the episode ends with their servant girl pulling off her face to reveal Arya, and Arya murders her.
That's an interesting ending.
I don't know
because clearly Arya's going to use that ability way more now. Obviously, yeah. I mean, and I think that like I'm with Ben. That storyline was a little like ugh for a little while, but the payoff to me was so worth it. That payoff was awesome.
So do the Lannisters have any friends anymore? I mean, because to me it seems like Daenerys basically has like I mean, just a giant, absolutely unbeatable army at this point. No.
Yeah, I don't know who supports House Lannister anymore, especially with Tywin being dead. It's not looking good. Do you guys have any idea how this ends? Because like I'm thinking about like some shows, and I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but I'll ask you guys. Did you have a feeling Breaking Bad was going to end the way it did?
Yeah.
Definitely. You knew somebody was dying.
Yeah. You knew a certain part. Yeah. I mean, it was the
actual ending I didn't know, but you knew that he was going to die.
Yeah, you knew what the inevitable was. You didn't. I mean, we didn't go into it knowing exactly how it would play out, but you knew he was probably going to die. So, I mean,
no, I agree. I think at this point,
it's wide open.
Yeah, I mean. Although I will say it seems like there's really only 3 people that can get... I mean, I guess 3 families that could get the throne. I mean, it's the Starks.
So let's talk about that. I think that's a really interesting question. Is who ultimately ends up on the throne here? And does that even matter? Because I think there's, as much as there's a chance that somebody ends up on the throne, I think there's just as good of a chance that the throne is gone.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, right? Like the White Walkers come in, the people defeat the White Walkers, and they go, "Yeah,
like
we don't really need."
Yeah, like they all defeat them together. Essentially, right. Like they realize that for the better of themselves.
Now, in fairness, that does not feel George R.R. Martin style.
No, right. Not at all. Like I feel like everybody dies, and like the White Walker King is like the new. He sits on the throne, and then there you go.
Yeah. So who? I mean, really, it's down to what? Daenerys, Tyrion, Jon, Sansa, Arya, Cersei. Those are the most logical 6 to end up on the throne.
But like, could it go like way off the? Like, could it be like Littlefinger? I mean,
no, I don't think Littlefinger's gonna live, but I could totally see Varys. Varys would probably be one of my longer odds right now. Somebody that I think still has to have a say in this before it's all over is Gendry.
What about Jaime?
I just don't see it.
I just don't see I guess the Lannisters seem like such a long shot to remain. It almost feels like they will, because it's like they don't have anybody left to help them, and they have a massive army coming basically to annihilate them at this point. So I mean, I don't see how they do it. It's almost to the point where I think they end up, status quo, and they end up on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's
I guess
again,
the only friend I could think they might get would be the other half of the Ironborns that are still building their ships. You know what I mean? Like maybe since
Cersei
the one
married
since
the uncle,
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think is that they go, okay, well, because they're coming with this massive naval fleet that maybe, they come in with their 1,000 ships and they go, okay, let's go. Which, by the way, if they come in with 1,000 ships in like a year, what a crock of shit that is, huh? There ain't no way they build 1,000 ships in a year.
I concur. I think Gendry's got to have a say in this. I mean, he is Robert Baratheon's only living relative now.
And who is this?
He's the one that's with what's her name? Brienne.
He was with
right?
Arya on the run for a bit. No, that's Podrick. Podrick's the one with Brienne of Tarth. I'm talking about if you go back to season 1, he was the guy. He was the apprentice to the blacksmith.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you noticed, also in the intro, they removed the Baratheon logo or whatever you want to call shield.
Mm-hmm.
So the Baratheon shield is no more.
Interesting. A lot of ways it can go
for you there.
Good stuff, Ben. Ben's bringing it hard tonight. All right, so
actually, I changed my mind. You know who's gonna sit on the throne? Bronn.
So I read somewhere somebody had an interesting thought that Bronn, you mean? I thought you meant Brandon.
No, Bronn, the Jaime's right-hand man.
So I read an interesting theory that Bran. So you had Daenerys talking about taking a husband,
mm-hmm.
and that Brandon Stark will be it.
That would be just.
Can he make a baby though?
Yeah, I mean he's paralyzed. His dick still works.
We don't know that.
Yeah, that's like.
I'm not. Oh, I'll tell you what. I totally thought that Tyrion was gonna kiss her last night.
Yeah, I thought that could go down as well. That'd been really interesting.
Like, that would have been such a weird. Like when she was giving him the hand of the queen pin, and he was obviously. And I was like, oh man, he's gonna fucking kiss her.
Are we sure that Brandon's dick works?
Yes, Brandon's dick definitely works.
I wouldn't say definitely. I'm not going that far.
There's another storyline that's kind of hanging over still. That I think is going to be really, really crucial. And I think this is why the Lannisters don't come out on top. But if you guys can think back, I want to say it was like season 4. One of the episodes opened with one of the guys from the small council going to the Iron Bank. And the Iron Bank was like, your money's due now. We need that money. And if you remember, Cersei was all like, bullshit, there's more money. And Tyrion was always like, no, there's really, really not money here, guys. And Cersei never seemed to understand that. And maybe that'll, the chickens will come home on her for this one. And that'll be her downfall. But maybe she'll also conjure some money out of midair because she's unbelievable. Because she's Cersei Lannister. By the way, was that the most power suit ever in the history of?
Oh yeah, that was great. The full black ensemble and up to the neck sort of look for her. She was rocking that, man.
Yeah, Cersei Lannister. All right, so final thoughts tonight. Predictions. One prediction you have that's going to happen over the course of what I've read is potentially only the final 13 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
They might do like 7 and 6 here to end it off over the next 2 years. So if that doesn't make you sad, I don't know what will. But Matt, do you have one prediction for what will happen in the final 13 episodes if that's what's left?
If it's the final 13, I firmly believe that if there is a throne at the end of it, Arya Stark will be sitting on the throne.
Okay. Good prediction. Ben, do you have one prediction?
I've said it all along. I think not all along since the episode. I think Sansa's fucking over Jon Snow somehow. I think she's going to end up killing him or having him killed or something.
Before I make my prediction, I just want to say that Lady Mormont,
man, she's awesome.
She might be my new favorite side character on television. She's tremendous. Rallying the troops to make the bastard Jon Snow King in the North is great. I'm gonna go with as my prediction that the throne just is gonna be vacant at the end. I hate that. I hate that's where I think it's gonna end up.
But it's pretty plausible too.
Right, if and here's how it ends up vacant is Jon Snow ends up as like the guy at the end,
Hmm.
and he's
And
just
he
like,
doesn't want it.
right, he's like, yeah, we're done with this. This is not how our world works anymore. So, the one they have talked about, like, we're gonna go even farther north soon, I guess.
Hmm.
I didn't know that there was much farther north to go, but I guess the Night King has to live somewhere.
True.
I'm really interested, like, if we're gonna get like a more of a Night King backstory. I know we saw the Children of the Forest like stab him with like that rock or whatever and turn him into the Night King. I'm really interested. Like, can you just imagine they do an episode like, oh, here's the Night King, and they're all hanging out, and the Night King's like, all right, new business here. Where's the hand of the Night King here? I need right. Like, I just don't want to see that,
Yeah.
but you never know. So, all right, Game of Thrones, man, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. We are going to do a list show. We'll have that out a little later this week. We're going to do it in honor of Lionel Messi, who retired from
Temporarily
international.
retired.
Yeah, he's probably not really retired, but if he is, he's going to leave the game of soccer, having not won the big one for Argentina. So we're going to do a list on the top 10 to have never won the big one. So look out for that. As always, subscribe, listen. We appreciate it every single day. We're on Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes. We're everywhere.
The
Download
internet.
us. The internet. It's on computers now.
Ooh.
And dogs don't lay eggs. And I learned something today. So, for Ben Russo and Matt York, I'm Scott Sternal. Thanks so much, as always, for listening. Be sure to subscribe. Have a good one.